Of the many questions I have as I eagerly anticipate the release of this movie, counting down until I can watch it, we're at 177 days, 7 hours, 46 minutes, and 37 seconds at time of recording, by the way. But one question keeps coming back to buzz around my brain, which is all because with it, there is a simple yes or no answer. Yet that only opens up a billion other questions. Welcome to Sandwich Reviews. I'm the Talking Sentient Sandwich, your naive but informed optimist, and I am confident that Lois knows Clark's secret, and that leaves the narrative open for all sorts of escapades that could come off as original and unseen by the theatrical audience, despite that ground already being covered by decades of comic stories, with this movie potentially adapting some of All-Star, and despite a similar Clark and Lois relationship devoid of any chemistry in Batman v Superman, notwithstanding what this weird scene is desperately trying to say. But before I dive into what Lois knowing could mean for the movie's story, I want to double down and prove that will be the case in the first place, because honestly, even in the couple minutes released already, there's plenty of proof. There's this shot at the Daily Planet where she's giving Clark what in my eyes looks to be nothing less than a knowing glance. Like she's either taking in the performance he's putting on or at least in the process of piecing it together. And it is a performance, involving the lengths that Clark must go to convince everyone he isn't Superman. From his posture and gait to the higher pitch he has as Clark. He puts on an Oscar-worthy performance to be the mild-mannered reporter that is Clark Kent on a daily basis. By the way, like everyone else, I'm not in love with Clark's yee-yee haircut, but I do appreciate how it's very different from the classic slick back hair with a single curl, and validates that, while it's still stupid, it's not entirely unbelievable that Clark would walk around and not immediately be recognized by a random passerby or the dozens of coworkers he sees every day. But the biggest clue that Lois knows that identity is that there's not one, but two makeout scenes in the trailer. One with Superman and Lois, and the other with Clark and Lois. And that second one features Clark without his glasses, which just puts the final nail in the coffin, confirming to me that she knows. Because even if you put the glasses aside, if she doesn't know, then it would be a little weird. I mean, there are comic dynamics where Lois is in a relationship with Clark but still flirtatious with Superman, and maybe it's just me, but I just really don't like that. So I'm hopeful we're not getting some strange intersecting love triangle, mainly because we all know which pairing would really win in the end. But anyway, the only scenario where Lois would be kissing Clark without his glasses would be one where she's clued in. And there's also this shot, which wouldn't make any sense if she didn't know. And with the story of this movie reportedly beginning right in the middle of the action, I wouldn't put it past Gunn to skip the introductions and also start that pairing right in the middle of the action, with them already in a heated relationship. However, the fact that Lois already knows that Clark is Superman means that we sadly won't get too many classic dual identity scenes, something that can and should be implemented, but without it being played off of the love interest, it's just not as much fun. I say that, but it could be that she starts out the movie either suspecting Clark or just being oblivious to him, and slowly becoming more aware as the relationship develops further on in the movie. I actually kind of prefer that, just because it allows for a great reveal scene, which could even be part of any number of the makeout scenes that we've already gotten brief looks at, in Clark or Lois's apartment or wherever that is. But either way, that will definitely be an important area, given that so many shots are in this location, including the well-known shot where he could be gearing up for a final battle, or simply getting ready for a battle. So, with Lois knowing, I could only picture that having a drastic effect on what the story will be. And I already assumed she was going to be an important character with plenty of involvement in the ongoing narrative and conflict. But I'll ask you, just how involved do you think Lois will be? Is she going to be a driving force for the plot like Snyder attempted in Batman v Superman? Will there be a cliched task for her to complete during the third act like every other love interest? So despite still being a plot device, it seems like they're actually important? Probably not that second one, since Gunn is consistently good at making female characters more than just love interests in his movies, but drop a comment and let me know what you think. After all, there's any number of things that can come up to make Lois more important in the story, but the one plotline that could easily slot in with the numerous others, and what is the most likely candidate, given it's just who Lois is her being an investigative reporter. Have her attempt to uncover some massive conspiracy that ties in with the big threat Superman is dealing with. And that could literally be anything, but with Lex being a prominent character, maybe she'll be looking into the shady stuff he is doing, uncovering the sinister underbelly that he hides behind his golden boy facade, which is somewhat the same plotline Lois was off doing in BVS, but this time it won't be boring. The Ultimate Edition makes it slightly less aggravating, but come on, Lois. You're supposed to be smart. You found a LexCorp bullet at the scene of the crime. There's literally no other questions that need to be asked. I don't know. And I keep on bashing on Snyder's Superman and BVS in particular. I wonder if he'll get any hate for it. Whatever. I already got a taste for it with my Star Wars Acolyte video months ago, and I'm just raring for more. Besides, I might have a video in the works that's focused entirely on everything Snyder did right. And the more I've been rewatching those movies and working on the script, the more I'm willing to admit there is plenty of good there. Almost as much as the bad. Anyway, I'm sure Gunn will be utilizing the almost 90 years of Lois and Clark history that's in the comics. Not a big majority, but still a majority of which has had Lois knowing, with her originally finding out in 1978 in Action Comics number 484. Even though that Lois and Clark were technically Earth 2 versions, who are the OGs, but I'm not going to get into it. My point being that I just hope Gunn doesn't make use of the weirder Golden Age comics, especially as sales were dropping and the writers would put anything on the cover to get people to buy, including apes, because it was statistically proven that comics sold better if they had monkeys on the cover. The reason why so many different ape-like characters exist across DC and Marvel, yet there are countless stories and ideas that can and should be adapted. And I brought up All-Star earlier because there is a particular Lois story that I wouldn't mind seeing in some shape. That being a storyline where Lois temporarily gets Kryptonian powers. Even though that definitely won't be done, considering it'd be a retread of a later episode of Smallville, and kinda the Donner and Lester Superman 2, or any other story where Clark relatively loses his power and Lois gains some. And not just that, but it would also add unnecessary plot lines and characters to a movie that is already looking to be jam-packed. Something that might be discussed next week, but I still wouldn't mind seeing some kind of excuse to put Lois and Clark on equal footing. Though I guarantee you that will happen through her being a journalist or just through impeccable writing, instead of giving her superpowers. Because Lois has always been someone who fights for truth with her words, something that will undeniably be interesting to see when put beside Clark's mission of helping people with a secret identity. And that, on top of every other aspect of this movie, gets me beyond excited to see it. And if you're interested in the many other opinions and theories I have about it, make sure to check out the several Superman video essays I've already made, and tune in next week, where I already spilled the beans and said it'll be about how the movie might feel a little crowded. But this was a topic that I really wanted to bring up, especially since I thought of a dumb thumbnail idea copying, or in a better light parodying, the new Rockstars one and needed to make it a reality. But in any case, thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe for weekly video essays and reviews, and enjoy a delicious sandwich.